My name's John Dillon, but here's a piece of maple that's really oval now. And it doesn't move too much on the longitude or the long side, but it shrinks a lot on the face grain or the tangential side. So when you can find some different types of wood here, he's got red maple and sugar maple, and you see a tangential side of the percentage that species of wood is going to try and dry to from green or raw wood versus a kiln dried or oven dried wood. So these different numbers you see in this column give you a rate or percentage of drying. So for instance, the highest number I see on here is madrone, and I understand a lot of these West Coast turners in Oregon and other places where madrone trees grow, they like to do that maybe once turned and let it warp like crazy, because madrone has a very high rate of water loss from the wet wood to the dry wood. So all these are different. The radial side of the block also will dry. Different rate. I'll go ahead and pass somebody around. You can see how that one's oval. On the inside of that, a couple of these, here's a piece of cherry. I put the dimensions, I'll use these for just a second. I put the dimensions, I measured these before I brought them over, and you'll see I measured basically the top to bottom of the tree, or the end grain sections versus the side grain sections. And you'll see different rates of how much they've actually shrunk on the side over the past 12 months to 2 years, or however long they've been sitting in my basement, which you'll see on the bottom. This is a small piece of locust, honey locust. I did actually just once turn this, and I thought I would just let it go. I still needed to sand it and finish the foot on the bottom. But when you look at this one, you'll see it's got quite a wavy top and stuff on it. So I'll pass that around. Along with that, I'll give this one to Paul. I'll just talk about a second. I have a couple pieces of catalpa, and I think on the third page I copied just because Hoadley talks about in the first paragraph how some species such as teak, mahogany, northern white cedar, redwood, and catalpa have a reputation of being woods that are quite stable. And then he goes on to say beech, certain oaks, and hickories can be potentially troublesome. So anyway, catalpa, if you find it on the sheet, you'll see it has a very low tangential and radial rate of shrinkage from green wood to oven dried wood. So when you look at these two, they're very similar in size bowls, but this catalpa actually is only shrunk like a 1/16 of an inch. It's almost, I can't even tell that it's actually oval or out of roundness at all. There's those two, and I don't know if this has made it around. We can pass that around too. And then the final piece I brought was a bigger catalpa bowl just to see, because I had a couple pieces. I didn't have any of those other species in my basement. But this was turned last June, and again, for a 10-inch bowl, it's only lost like 1/8 of an inch from side to side versus the top to bottom. So I just, like I said, I thought it might be interesting to share some of that information. I know not everybody turns greenwood. I don't know if, has everybody here turned greenwood bowls before? Is there anybody that hasn't, I guess I should ask maybe? Couple people? Okay. Well, if you're buying kiln dried wood from Owl Lumber or something, this really isn't that relevant. But if you're, I guess the way I was looking at it is if you do turn greenwood, I know we don't have time for the conversation tonight, but the bigger discussion is, I think we all know the bowls are going to warp. That's almost not preventable. But what we try to do, obviously, is get them so they don't crack when they're warping, right? So some of these species that have a high rate, I think, of moisture loss and deformity, I'm assuming those are the ones that a lot of times we have problems with that crack on the end grain too, when they're sitting in wherever you're drying them. So whether you use end grain sealer, I don't use a lot of end grain sealer. I tend to put them on my basement floor. and just let them go for a few months, and I keep an eye on them. But there's some that I will put end grain sealer on, like some oak trees, some oak roughouts that I do and other things. Apple, yeah. One of the, that's a good point, Marie. One of the things I saw recently on the AAW forum site was a gentleman asked the membership, what type of wood can I go get that's going to give me a real wavy look if I turn it? Exactly what I'm talking about. So a lot of guys says, well, madrone for sure. I guess the guys really boil it before they set it to the side or turn it or something because it cracks so easily. So there's different precautions you can take to prevent cracking, but some of these things, like if you turn Catalpa, you could put it on the floor and it's really not even going to change over a time period. So the list is there, the book is out there if anybody's interested, but it's got a lot of other good information in it too. So that was kind of the introduction to what I was going to start turning some wood, but does anybody have any comments or questions on that? I should try and ask the publisher, I guess.
Contact the club lawyer.
Yeah. Okay, so I don't know, I like to say first time demonstrator, so I don't know, is this going to work real good if I talk behind this? Okay, too? Okay. All right. So I chose a maple bowl. This is some wood, this one and the other maple one that went around are both bowls. There's one up here that I'll take the foot off this one if we have time. I finished this one already, but this wood, it's kind of pretty. It's got some nice grain texture to it. There was a gentleman that advertised in the DuPage Woodworkers. I guess it was probably May of 21, because I think I turned these right after I got the wood from him. But I think he lived over in Winfield and he cut down about 10 trees on his property, mostly all maple. Some Norway maple and some sugar maple, so I went over there and got it in chunks. And this is pretty far out around. It's very similar to this one. I was showing somebody earlier that, you know, when you turn a greenwood bowl, the recommendation is to turn it to about 10% of the thickness of the diameter, which I did. I mean, this is probably pretty close to 1 inch thick. And this one was pretty similar. And when I got the ovalness out of it, this is about how thick the rim was. You know, it got down about 3/8 of an inch or something, maybe just under a half inch. But I was kind of surprised. So I mean, it's something else to keep in mind. Don't go too thin on the rim on a greenwood bowl because you got to have enough to get it round again without, you know, going over the edge too much. So this one was probably going to be close too, I think. We'll see. So anyway, first thing I do is, you can check this out afterwards. I got this little pad that I use usually kind of as a friction chuck. The first thing we want to do is round up the tenon again so we can put it in a chuck. So you can see it's pretty far out around. So I'm gonna bring the tailstock up here and use the center point that I had established when I first turned it. Get that set in there.
Hey, John?
Yeah.
Bring the microphone down a little closer to your chin.
Here? Yeah. That better?
Yeah.
Okay. So what I like to do when I start is to true up the tenon. I usually put my tool rest a little bit above center, and I use a skew to, I get my Vic Mark chuck on here with dovetail jaws. So what I do is I use the skew flat on the tool rest, and I go in and I reestablish the tenon, make that round. This thing down. So I turn the okay, so I got the tool rest about 1 inch away from the bowl blank itself. I go right on the edge flat. And it's going to be a little bit deeper than typical, maybe. only because, I'm rubbing here a little bit too, but the main thing is to get rid of the ovalness on the tenon, okay? And then, you can keep a 6-inch ruler with me, just to check and see how flat it is against this foot that I had previously made when I roughed out the bowl. So you lay it flat on there, make sure it's flat. Can be a little bit concave, but you definitely don't want the ruler rocked in. And it seems really flat to me now. Looks like I got it cut all the way around, so I'm going to call that good. Might take a little bit off that foot. I don't really need to right now, but I will.
John, I got a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
You're not supposed to use a skew on a bowl. So how did you get away with that? Why did that work?
The only reason I do it here, Mark, it's very close to the tool rest. And I'm not turning the bowl with it. I'm just cutting a very small piece of wood off.
But you really are cutting side grain there at that point.
Yeah. Straight for orientation. Sure. I'm going to go ahead and just take a little bit of the foot off. Just make sure, kind of get a little bit flat here. It's pretty old, really. Anyway, just want to double check the flatness of that. Give it just a little bit more, just to make sure I got it plenty. So kind of dig in the skew pretty hard, right at the base of the tenon. Make sure that kind of sit flat when I get it in the chuck. That looks good. Now with that, I'm going to turn it around. Some people will go ahead and start turning the outside of the bowl when they have it here. I don't typically. I like to get it in the chuck, only because I know then that that's where it's going to stay and it's going to be running through. If I turn too much of the outside when it's just against this pad and then I turn it around, it might not be running quite so true, and then I'm going to be back reworking a lot of that. So it looks like it's sitting flat on the face. The jaws are a little bit open, but not too bad. I'm going to go with that. Let me get this out of my way a little bit. Take this out. Okay, set the lights in there. What I like to do then is, first, I like to establish the rim. I know everybody probably does a little different. But I like to fatten the rim, then I like to see where I'm at with the thickness here before I really start shaping the outside. So you can see it's pretty far out of balance here. Anyway, I'm going to go back and forth. I keep the tool a little down lower. Got it into my hip. Kind of going on the outside a little bit here, just getting it coming right up to the wood. Kind of like when you're starting from scratch. You can kind of do it when you're getting pretty flat because it'll start really cutting a lot smoother. Pretty high on the inside there still. Take an easy cut. We're going in pretty close. Okay, I think I'm pretty close there. Going to put it in the extra left side here. So if I spin this around, it looks like I've cut the rim pretty flat right there. Now you can see here, you know, how far out of oval it is there, and here's on the inside. But the rim itself has been cut all the way around, okay? Then what I like to do is take some more of this off the outside and some of this on the inside. You can see it's all going to come out. The way I like to do that, you can do it kind of traditionally, like regular bowl. I generally will turn the tool, I guess 90 degrees, or like facing 9 o'clock. You don't want to have the flute open at all, but if you have it partially closed, you can kind of rub the inside. And kind of point it down to the side. I'm just trying to go on the rim, see how thick it's going to be. So the tool is mostly closed, because you open it up like this, so that's the problem with that. So let's see what the inside looks like. It's chewing it up pretty good, but it looks like right here on this edge, I haven't hit the side yet with the tool. Let me take a little bit more. More speed. Take a look at that. Okay. So, yeah, I definitely have got this thing is pretty far out of whack. Let's take a little bit off the outside and go right through there. Do a little bit more. Just kind of cut the outside edge here a little bit. Going down the side of the ball. Right up here, it doesn't look like I've taken a big cut here. Right here, it doesn't look like I've hit the side yet. Up here, I have. So it's out of roundness in a couple different directions, obviously. We'll keep working that just a little bit more. Let's see if that might be where we need to be. So I am cutting here now. So it's cut all the way around on the outside and the inside. Okay, so looks like, you know, for a round on the inside and the outside, looks like it's about a 1/2 inch diameter right here. You can see how much we got to take off here and inside here. So I like to turn the outside of the bowl first. So I'm going to go ahead and move the tool rest a little bit.
Is it better?
Make it more perpendicular here. It's almost hit the tool rest right there on the high side. A little crack. Typically, we turn from the bottom or the foot of the bowl to the outside, but I'm just gonna take off some of this extra wood right now while I'm right in this position. Kind of look at the horizon somewhat, you can see a shadow up here. I can kind of see where, I'm cutting a lot of air away from that. But so far I've taken all the extra wood off. You can see I cut all the way around and it's get down deeper in there. It's not quite so severe on the oval bark. I'm going to move the tool rest over here. And I'm going to work from the foot of the bowl back up towards the top. It's not going real fast. I mean, this thing says I'm about 700 RPMs. So anyway, I'm going to start up here and move it all the way. I think I mentioned already, could be Norway maple, hard maple. We have some sugar maple trees, I don't know if that's all different. I mean, even silver maple, we call it soft maple, but it's hard. Most everybody I think would agree is wild sunshine greenwood. Wild sunshine red too, but greenwood so much easier. They come back to anyway and make some good savings. Okay, I got kind of a decent space on the outside. I'm not gonna do the entire outside until I get some of that stuff out of the inside that's way out of whack. I got a pretty decent rough shape other than right here. You can see I haven't really hit the bottom right here. It's still pretty shiny. But the rest of it's all been rough turn. Let's see what I can do on the inside here. The reason I want to do the inside a little bit is I think it's beneficial to get some of this. I think it helps to stabilize it, to get some of this extra wood out here. Won't want to wobble quite so much with it. Because if I do the outside when it's against the jam chuck and then I put it in the chuck and it's not perfectly in the chuck or for whatever reason I don't grip the tendon exactly right, I'm going to be working on the outside anyway, on the chuck side. That's why I do it this way. Yeah. Yeah, you might have to turn it twice if you just turn it against the jam chuck only. I don't know how, everybody's probably got their favorite way. This is just the way I do it. What's it, Rich, you would do it with, like I'm doing, probably? Yeah, I mean, I'm moving to the inside now because I want to get some of the unevenness out here, and then I'm going to go back and work the outside a little bit more. But I don't have to flip it and put it in the chuck when I do that, obviously. So anyway, good point though. I mean, but I've heard other people don't like working near the chuck, period, like on a lot of stuff. They don't have to. And that's what you're saying too, some people don't want to get that close to the chuck. If the tool bounces off, you're into the chuck. So you gotta be careful. I finish close to the chuck and I turn it around to do the foot immediately. That's when I get right into the foot, once I turn it around again.
So would you finish the sanding, the exterior sanding at this point as well?
No. What I'm gonna do, what I'm gonna do is the inside, and I'm gonna go back over here and I'm gonna finish shaping this totally. Then I'm gonna finish shaping the inside and then I'd sand the whole thing. So anyway, let me get this inside out of here a little bit. So again, I could go in here this way. Again, the tool is not pointed up, but pointed 3 o'clock now, so I can't really see the inside of the flute. And it's gonna bounce pretty hard because I'm putting a lot of air right there. I'll go right down the side, feel most of the flow. You can do that a few times. I could go like I did before and make it 9 o'clock. Take out some of this. But I think you might be a little bit more prone to the texture tool. But I find pulling the tool towards me sometimes is pretty easy. Or again, just turn it just the opposite way. This is how I would finish the bowl anyway, this direction. So I'm trying to get the big stuff out here that's really out of balance. I just kind of glide the bubble down. Something as I go. Feeling pretty slow in the center here. One more time. Now I will turn around because it's more traditional, go this way. Here's the bubble that's sitting a little bit there. Okay, well, I think I got most of the unevenness out of it. You can see right here, I haven't touched it at all, but the rest of it has, so a little bit right here hasn't been touched, so it's pretty thick still. I know how to make another one on the inside before I go back to the outside. Maybe turn the speed up a little bit. And I got the tool with it now, open now. That's the area that I didn't put the first time over there. I'm kind of pushing my way down the bowl, and I'm gonna go ahead and more let the bubble right on a little bit more here. Okay, I don't see any area where I haven't got around, basically. It's kind of thick right here still, but it's basically, the bounce should be kind of out of it. So this is where I would go back and I got a low spot right here I can see, so I'm gonna just work this outside a little bit more. So I think I'll kind of letting the edge of the tool maybe a bomb there. Let's go back and forth a little bit. Shape is totally up to you. Kind of curves you want. around here, I haven't touched it yet. I can see a shiny spot there where it's been sitting around, but that real rough edge right up here, so I'm gonna get over on this edge a little bit more. Alright, so if I wanted to spend a lot of time, I'd use some shear scraping like this. And then some of those, pretty much as I can, but really good. When you use a bolt gouge as a shear scraper, you generally lower the tool rest as much as you can. Hold the gouge down as low as you can and just kind of cut with let the edge of the gouge just kind of slice through the wood. But I'm going to call that good enough for the demo here. Work on the rim a little bit more, so I got some tear out of that. I'm going to finish the inside.
John, do you want to take the microphone down with your chin just a skosh?
Down here now.
I think so, yeah.
So I don't know if you saw before I started the blade, but there's a lot of tear out of the corner here. I'm going to soften up the corners and get rid of that. So again, I kind of use it more like a shear scrape here. Back and forth a few times and then get a little vibration because it's out on the edge here. Then we make it kind of an inward bevel on the rim. And then to soften up the corner, be careful here, but keep the tool down and just keep a little chamfer on this one. It will cause sterile. You have to do that when I come back and the tool will touch up there in a minute. There's still some tear out on it. I'm trying to get rid of that real quick. I'll just wrap around the corner there a little bit. Real light touch. And there's a little bit there, I'm just gonna leave that for now. You could even sand that off, but it's flat, round. I got a big high spot here. I'm gonna finish the inside now. And I'm gonna start on the end here with the tool mostly closed, but a little bit open. Okay. Some people will go an inch or two at a time and kind of feel and see how that's going. I'm gonna just leave it there and I'm gonna go with that thickness. I was using the tool this way, now I'm gonna turn it this way and I'm gonna go down more with the bevel and get in there where it's at. I should have mentioned I do have this figure 8 pushing here, and I did check it before I started. It's quite thick on the bottom, so I'm not totally concerned with that. You can, check it out as you go. This is relatively thick for its size. It's kind of thick right through here. So you can see a line where I stopped here anyway. Go back to that real quick. Take a light cut. Still a little line right here, I just see it, but that's okay. Feels pretty good otherwise. Tool rest a little bit more. over here and find where I want to be. Okay. I think that's pretty good. I did bring along, maybe some of you guys use negative rake scrapers. You could always go back over with that. I know if I start sanding this, there's a little spot right here that I'm going to see. I probably ought to also soften the inside edge just a little bit, although you could do that with some sandpaper too. Again, be careful on these little corners, these little shapes. If you want to use a negative rake scraper, go in, clean up the bottom or the side. Okay. So, that's as good as it's going to get tonight because I'm not sanding anything. Okay. I don't know if I have time to do the bottom or not. I can do that.
Got 10 minutes?
You got 10 minutes? Okay. I'm going to pass this around. You can see there's some tear out at the bottom where I didn't spend a lot of time with the negative rake scraper. But I did bring another bowl here. I can do the bottom on real quick. I did this one the other day. And I'll take that one home and I'll finish sanding it and clean it up a little bit more. I put the pad back on. Usually, depending on the wood and how much So I know a lot of people have vacuum chucks. I don't have a vacuum chuck. So my technique, you know what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just check the thickness real quick. I know it's thick enough. Doesn't hurt to double check though. Don't want to do all that work and then make a funnel out of it. So I got probably 5/8 of an inch there or something still to the bottom of the foot on this bowl. So what I do, because I don't have a vacuum chuck, I have hole jaws at home, but I never use them. I find this is quickest and easiest for me. You don't have to tighten it up too much. What I do is I take the tenon off, and you'll see, and then I just take the little nub off at the end. Turn the speed down a little bit, see how it's running here. If I can get rid of this, kind of annoying. Let's get rid of these here. So I do some of it with the bowl gouge, and then I brought a spindle gouge along too. I'm going to be a little careful with this, although this bowl is plenty deep enough. So, work on the timing. Sometimes I might have the foot a little bit bigger than this one, and maybe a little bit more than the eighth of an inch. But the idea is you hit the bottom a little bit concave, so it's just sitting on the outside edge of sitting on the outside edge of your foot. So put that on the table. You can see it bounces quite a bit of the edge here because that's still part of the bowl. I haven't really been working on that to make it available. Okay. Then you gotta have a spindle gouge a little bit closer to your line center there. The idea is just to have a little knob at the bottom I didn't mention, but when I started training 4 years ago, I took lessons at Chicago School of Woodworking with Andy Kuby and Clint Stevens. So I highly encourage newcomers to have the time take the classes with either them or somebody else, because I don't know for sure, but I'm sure it saved me a couple of years worth of learning on my own. Yeah, it's still a little bit high in the center there. It's rocking still. Just a little bit higher for my spinning wheel. But I know Mark and Dan was one of my classes there. If you took me in the class together. But I took some classes with Ed Zucconi. I know Paul Percy and Marie and Ben at his house. If you can get a mentor like those guys, it can save you a lot of time in the learning process of how to use the tools properly and so on. Let's see where we're at. I don't know if I'll forget or not. It's pretty close, maybe a little bit more. You know, that'll work right there. If I don't have I don't have a lot of wiggle room, but that's okay. And then what I would do is take a small pull saw. You know what I do first. Might as well, because I'm going to finish this thing here anyway. Put my tool rest up above center. Take my skew chisel again. Put it on edge. Just take the long point. I usually make two circular lines. 2 circles. The finished product there. I usually put a little flex to the saw so I don't cut into something I just worked on there. Of course, I would have sanded this first also. Cut it as flush as I can. Loosen up the tailstock a little bit. Right there. And then to get that last little bit, you can, I know they showed us in class, take a little chisel and get rid of that. I'm not going to do it here, but what I do is I take a 2-inch, take my drill with a 2-inch pad on it. It's kind of a stiff pad. I could do it, I guess. But what I do is then I hold it here and I kind of run the sanding disc around there, and I'll run it up to 400 grit and get rid of that knob so it's nice and smooth on the bottom. Autograph it, put some walnut oil on it, we're done. That's it.
Very nice.
Any questions?